Welcome, everybody, today to the Donley Auctions Unfiltered Podcast. And this week, it is the sports edition. Today, we are sitting down with Mr. Bobby O'Neill of the O'Neill Collection and Ryan Boyle, and maybe a little bit of Ryan Fateh, but we'll see. So, welcome and enjoy the show.
Okay, yeah.
Right on. Obviously, you've been collecting sports for a while. You've been in advertising for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had to start off somewhere. Where
I would say it started as a young kid in Park Ridge, Illinois. We were, me and the neighborhood kids were all sports guys. We grew up going to Cubs games. My dad was a Bears season ticket holder. My dad was a car dealer. So he, as kids, we had Cubs players, Bears players coming over to our house all the time.
Really?
My Uncle Hunk, I knew growing up, was a guy my dad knew since his childhood, was Hunk Anderson, who played for Newt Rockne at Notre Dame. And
oh, my God.
And when Newt Rockne died in a plane crash, Uncle Hunk took over Notre Dame. Then later, during the war, Hunk Anderson became the coach of the Bears during that time. But these are guys I knew growing up. So, one day, Ron Santo and Glenn Beckert could be at the house. And, and on weekends, our lakefront house in Twin Lakes, back then, we'd have Chicago Bears players because my dad had a radio show with Mel Belair's back in the 70s.
Really?
And so, and he any given weekend, there'd be half a dozen Chicago Bears players at our place. Mike Adamle, Mike Phipps, Craig Clemens, Alan Ellis, Wally Chambers, Ted Albrecht, who's still one of my best friends this very day. So
that's awesome. So you've just kind of been around sports.
Yep, my whole life.
Your whole life.
So then when I got into the automotive business and the marketing and stuff like that, way back in the 70s, I was in the custom van business, and I had this idea for custom vans, so like a team custom van. So I didn't know how to do it. We made custom vans sold all over the country and all over the world. But actually, Muggs Hallis, George's son, Muggsy, helped me get my first licensing deal.
Really?
With NFL Properties in New York in 1981. Wow. So that was a direct connection through Muggs Hallis.
It's right there.
And so through that, when I started doing this first Chicago Bear van thing, I dealt with Bill McGrain and a bunch of the staff guys, at the Bears back then. So I got inside with the Bears, and then later after that, it led to the Chicago Bear Alumni Ring project, where they did for them for 36 years. But
that was exactly what I wanted to segue into. Is if you could, tell us a little bit about that. I think that's really cool. You're part of the Alumni Association for how many years?
36 years.
And so was that the inception of it?
So the inception of it was I was after a Bears game. I was with Ted Albrecht, Bob Evelini, Bob Parsons, Brian Bashnagel, and a couple of guys were out having cocktails. And
there you go.
And that Bears team back then, Walt Walter was on the team, but they weren't that great. They were struggling, and so I had this idea for Chicago Bear Alumni Ring, and I wrote it down on a bar napkin at some bar we were all hanging out at. So it just came to me that a lot of these players that played all these years for its pro team, if you don't get a Super Bowl ring, you really have nothing. They have NFL alumni rings that you can get, but they're real generic, and they're not that impressive. So my idea was a ring dedicated to the team they played for. So, it said Chicago Bear alumni on the top. I had an image of George Hallis on the side. They had the player's name, number, position on the ring. And so eventually, I'm not a ring guy. I'm not a jewelry guy. But I had the idea. So I went to Balfour Ring Company, and they did a artist rendering. And then I made an appointment to meet Mike McCaskey in 1985. I first meeting at Hallis Hall with Mike. We batted it around, and his initial thing was, I don't want to take away from the Super Bowl ring that the team just got.
That's understandable.
Well, I said, but Mike, this has nothing to do with the current team. This has to do with players that played on this team from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, acknowledging their pride in the Chicago Bears organization and that can wear it, and so let me think about it. So about a year later, I thought, well, I'm going to give this one more try. And I went down and I convinced Mike that this is really a great gesture to do for the players. They have to buy it themselves.
Right.
And he goes, yeah, you know what, that is a good idea. Let's do it. So shook hands, and for 36 years,
That's amazing.
I dealt with Mike McCaskey first, and then his brother Brian and I became my guy, and then Mike passed away some years later, and then so for the next 36 years, I was the only non-player invited to the team's alumni dinner.
That's awesome.
You know, and I had a little thing set up where I could sell the rings, and we probably sold a couple hundred of them over all these years. Wow. You know.
And what I think is really cool about the story is that you had to go back and ask for the second time. It's always you know, all good things. You know, not you always have to put forth the effort.
Just persistence. You know.
So
and then branching off that, what had to be your favorite ring to be had made?
Well, I've sold rings to so many great players over the years, Buffon, and guys that played in the 30s and 40s, and But I'd probably say honestly that Butkus. He was my hero growing up. Sayers and Butkus were my heroes. So through this relationship, I met Dick Butkus a number of times, and he was kind of a little cheaper guy, and he didn't want to pull the trigger for a number of years. But he saw the rings, and we did the dance for a number of years. And then unfortunately, the last alumni dinner year I was at, where he was there also, he said, "Let's do it," and I got his ring ordered. And then not 30 days later, unfortunately, he passed away to everybody's shock and surprise. So.
And that's why it will be offered in our upcoming Bobby O'Neill auction, one of the highlight pieces, one of the many highlight pieces. It's stunning. I mean, it's 10 karat gold,
it's championship
detail.
weight. Yeah, no, it's a beautiful ring. It's got all this information on it, and but it's one of many things. And like I was saying before, through sports, I've gotten to know stuff, the stuff with Giannis and all these things. Through Cunis, I handle our sports relationship. So we've done stuff with the Milwaukee Bucks, Peter Fagan, and we've had players. We've had every player from Giannis to Pat Connaughton to Bobby Portis. We've dealt with the Cubs, the Blackhawks, the Green Bay Packers. We currently have a couple current Packer players in car deals, Lucas Van Ness and.
He's an awesome guy.
No, he's a great guy.
Met him at one of the card shows locally here last year, and really, really, really nice guy. Really big guy too.
No, he's a big. His nickname in Iowa was Hercules.
Yeah, I could understand why.
But so the sports thing is, I've been blessed to be able to do it through Cunis. I mean, I've been a collector my whole life, but through all this, there's other things that I've gotten to collect, and it's been fascinating. But
let me ask you, just going back to the Bears, out of all the players that you've met, and obviously you've met them, in a capacity that most of us never get to see.
From childhood to adulthood, I mean, what person gets that response to Chicago Bears? I mean,
oh no, it's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy. I can remember my dad taking me to a sports fundraiser, a Blackhawk Indian fundraiser or something like that. It was in Chicago at a restaurant. Maybe the restaurant was a Blackhawk. It was some fundraiser for a tribe or something when I was a little kid. And I remember, and I was a diehard Bears fan, of course, but I remember I was probably, 5th or 6th grade, and I went into the bathroom to go to the bathroom, and all of a sudden I'm standing there, and two big guys coming either side of me, and they're talking, and I kind of looked up at one, and one was Brian Piccolo.
Oh, boy.
The other one was Gale Sayers. And they're just both chatting, and I'm kind of looking up and going, holy shit, these are my idols, But yeah, Sayers and Piccolo.
I could imagine. That's got to be a situation where you're like, oh my God, what is going on right now?
Yeah,
definitely surreal.
But probably over the years, through Ted, we've one New Year's Eve I spent with my wife, Ted Albrecht and his wife, and Jim and Nancy McMahon at Ted's house. We had spent a New Year's Eve together there. And so that's over the years, I got to know Doug Buffon pretty good. He was a great guy, and Mike Adamle, who was, fullback for the Bears back in the day, and we became an announcer, but he pretty much ended his career on our pier in Twin Lakes. He came up on a weekend, and he dove off our pier. I was standing on the pier with a couple of buddies, and he just came from practice, and he just scored 2 touchdowns the day before against the Seahawks. Dove into the water, and we tried to tell him stop, and he dove in and hit the bottom, and he came up, and his head was completely cracked open.
Ooh, wow.
And so me, Wally Chambers, and Virgil Carter rushed him to McHenry Hospital. And he had 21 stitches put in his forehead. And
jeez.
And so, he had to try to explain that to Jim Pardee and the coaching guys. And
That
so
had to be a fun explanation.
Yeah.
then the next year he came up and he, so after this next year he came up and he wanted to go over the ski jump. I was part of the Aquanaut water shows, and he wanted to go over the ski jump, and he tore his groin and hamstring muscles. So shortly after those 2 incidents,
That was it.
he got waived, and then he, fortunately for him, got picked up by NBC Sports and became a very famous announcer, and then later did American Gladiators. And
Yeah, he's had a really good second career.
Yeah.
He's still in the limelight.
He should
Well,
not go
he's-
near water at all.
no. Unfortunately, now he's suffering from
He was. I
from
rather.
some kind of CTE probably, and I feel bad because he probably at the first start back between all the hits he took in the NFL, but the one impact off our pier was probably a
major.
yeah. So, but he's a great guy. Mike was a wonderful guy.
I remember growing up. I believe it was NBC or it was whichever. it
NBC
was.
Sports.
But I'd see him. It was like a like a daily fixture. Every day I'd see him on my home TV. And
I was at the Super Bowl in Pasadena in 1983 because I was a licensee of NFL properties, and the broadcast crew was him, Dick Enberg, and this broadcast crew. And I'm in this elevator, and Adamle and Enberg and the NBC guys come in the elevator, and Mike wasn't sure. He turns around, he looks at me, and I go, "Hey, zipperhead," and he goes, "O'Neill," and he pulled his hair back. In the elevator,
and he had
and all the scars were still there. And he goes, "Oh my God!" He was stunned to see me in that same elevator. And the NBC guys are like, "What are you calling that for?"
What a small.
I bet he never
world.
lived that one down after that.
No. So Then I saw him one more time at Ford Field at a game. He was covering for NBC Sports, and we talked briefly before a game. But I haven't seen him in quite a while.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he's got some problems.
And you, I worked the show, and just through talking, you also know Hampton, which Hampton's I got to say, every time I've met Hampton, he's a very nice, down-to-earth guy. I mean, he's a very, I wouldn't want the guy angry with me, but a very, very nice guy. And I could just imagine him back in the day, having fun. I could just imagine his stories, and I heard some of the stories he was telling. And
He's a great storyteller.
It's awesome.
He's an amazing guy. But he actually, his relationship started with Greg Cunis. He's known Greg for probably 20 years.
Wow.
So they've been friends a long ways back. Wow. So that's how I met Dan through Greg, actually, surprisingly.
It's small world.
Well, yeah, no, it's crazy, but no, the Bears are probably my biggest contact. I mean, I was at Hallis Hall yesterday.
We were on the phone, and
Pat McCaskey, and I was talking to him, and Coach Johnson walked in and was talking to him a little bit.
To talk about what a job he's done.
Oh my God, he's changed the whole culture of that place.
I'll tell you, it's obviously the Packers and Bears have always been a rivalry, and I've always I'll admit I've always liked. Both teams, but I'll tell you that the Bears, if I'm a Packers fan for the first time in about 2 decades, I'm actually worried about the Bears. The Bears are a force to be reckoned with now.
Yep.
And we got a couple years of good games.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Here's the real question. I mean, since you probably got the insider knowledge, Chicago or Indiana?
Well, I sure hope it's Arlington Heights. They own the property.
Yes.
Everything they need to do is there, for stadium, parking, hotels, entertainment venues, restaurants. They want to do a Chicago Bear Hall of Fame museum. We were talking about that when I was at Hallis Hall yesterday. But 3 years ago at one of the dinners, Brian McCaskey told me, point blank, he said, I hope we build in Arlington Heights. That's where our family's kind of from, that area, and that's a great space. It's got access from 53,
Right.
from 12, from the train. I mean, it's
Right
the
there.
ideal location,
Right.
and I fully believe that that's where it will end up being.
Yeah, I mean, Soldier Field is a beautiful stadium, but they've grown too big. They need
Yeah.
bigger. They need something bigger, something not around the
Yep.
city. It's just too hard. I mean, I played when I was younger in high school. I played in Soldier Field. This is one of those big high school games. Unbelievable stadium. But I think the Bears have outgrown it. And
Yeah,
Bears
it's the
need
smallest
something
stadium
bigger.
in the NFL. 65,000. The parking's awful. There's no great ingress or egress. It's just, and even under the plans they had in Chicago, none of them were very well workable through, the mayor it's going to be Arlington Heights. I'm confident it's going to be Arlington Heights. So
I don't think Indiana Bears sounds good anyway.
No, I think George Hallis would be rolling in his grave if that
No.
ever happened.
I'd agree. I think that a lot of people would be a little, surprised.
Yeah,
if that was if that's what happened. But we had talked about Giannis a little bit earlier, and I just want you told me a really cool story about another item that we have in your upcoming auction, which is a playbook from. I believe a playoff game when they played the Bulls.
Yeah.
And you had sold him, or you had set him up with a car, and he just left
Well,
it in
it
your
was,
car.
that's not uncommon. We've had dozens, probably hundreds of players over the years, and when they turn their vehicles in, a lot of times they just leave stuff behind, and they're like, oh yeah, and I'll say, hey, I got stuff, I'll just keep it. Sometimes it could be hoodies, sometimes it could be cleats, sometimes it could be, like you left the playbook. It was this old one. It wasn't even a current one.
Yeah, it's.
But it was in the back of the seat of an Escalade. But no, Giannis was what I feel one of my best accomplishments as far as players. It was his MVP year. I dealt with his agent, and we got Giannis, to be on the team, and he did an appearance for us at our Stoughton store by Madison, and. Most of our average appearances are probably got 200-300 people show up, and 5,000 showed up. Their helicopters, state police, every news station, and it was insane.
Man.
And normally he'll sign, a couple 200-300 items, but after like 700 items, his agent's going, we got to get out of here. This is crazy. And the line was still thousands of people outside banging on the windows, and so that is the signing where that little girl went up to Giannis with the little book, and he came around and it went global.
Oh yeah.
And he looked at it and gave her a hug, and she was crying, but it was very emotional movie. But that one is on every major sports station that same day.
It's super cool.
But he signed a bunch of jerseys for me, some balls. The playbook's pretty cool because you don't. Jimmy Butler was on the team then, and Rose, and it's a fascinating insight. I was a basketball guy, so flipping through that and seeing how they analyze and break down,
it's cool.
Their competition, the guys are going up against, all their offenses. It's all scheduled out. It's pretty amazing.
It's definitely a different look than the average person who's not an insider would ever.
Right.
But I was surprised. I'm like, oh my God, this is what's in here.
And actually, I think you've got a basketball,
Yep.
a full-size basketball that I had him sign. So early in his career, he signed this very large, extensive signature. Well, after the MVP year, and that ball has a full signature, which you don't see those much anymore. Now his stroke or signature is just pretty much a little wave. But so to have that early stuff is pretty
sought
cool
after.
because it's really an extensive signature, which now is just some squiggles, pretty much.
Wow.
The ball is really a really good. It'd be an excellent corner piece for anyone's collection, and also a framed jersey, which is it presents beautifully. It's probably about 4 feet tall.
That's huge,
and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and I got a certificate of authenticity from the Milwaukee Bucks, and that was all signed right in front of their guys, and some I was there for when he signed right in front of me. But everything I got is either signed in front of me or through the team or something like that. All those baseballs that you have. Those were all given to me by the equipment manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. So he got those. All those balls were gotten through clubhouses directly. So, and you got some many Hall of Fame players that are in that collection.
Yeah,
and
a lot of good names. A lot of good names.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if those have been certified, but each one of those came from the Milwaukee Brewers clubhouse manager Jason Schauger. So it gets no better provenance than that.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, while we're on baseball, why don't we talk about? You have an excellent. Let's go to the Hall of Fame bust by Palmer Murphy.
I have to say, we got these in the doors a couple weeks ago, and they're already on display. We put them up on with signs. We have had constant questions. Everybody is in love with these.
Everyone loves them.
Those are jaw droppers.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So back in 97, 96, 97, one of my custom van customers, Dave Bellman, he was one of my big dealers, custom van dealers out of St. Louis, Missouri. Him and his brother Ken bought a 16,000-piece sports memorabilia sports collection that had been toured, and then so through Dave, he had the acquaintance with Palmer Murphy. So Palmer had done stuff for the Babe Ruth Museum. He'd done a bunch of he's one of the top sculpture artists in the country. Actually, that's the bust I dropped off at the Bears yesterday was one that he did of Dick Butkus.
That one was really awesome.
Wow.
It's talk about a presentation piece. I believe it was autographed, and it's just beautiful work.
It's done. His detail is just exceptional. So anyhow, we worked a deal out with the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown with their buyer to make these limited edition busts that some would be sold through their Hall of Fame museum, but some were also displayed there as well. So Dave Bellman and I flew out there with a couple of the first busts, and we met with people at Cooperstown at the Hall of Fame, and we had the busts on the counter, and they just gasped. They were like, "Oh my God, these are just incredible!" Yeah. So the first grouping was Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Stan Musial. Then we later added Jackie Robinson and Mickey Mantle. And actually, one of the first busts of Jackie Robinson, I was at the National Sports Show in Atlanta, and I think maybe he's 98 or 90, something like that. I can't remember exactly. But Rachel Robinson, his widow, was at the show. She had a book that just came out.
Wow.
So I had the bust under a towel, and I got in line because I was going to buy the book. And so when I got up to her, I introduced myself. I put the bust down in front of her, and I pulled the towel off. And she looked at it, and she gasped and said, "Oh, my God, that looks just like Jack."
Oh, my God.
She looked at it, stared right at it, and she touched the face of her husband's bust with her hand and just looked at it like...
in amazement.
That looks just like Jack.
Wow.
Never forget that.
It does. I mean, these are lifelike. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before.
They're massive.
The Jackie
stunning.
Robinson weighs almost 60 pounds. It's bonded bronze, and all those last ones that you have, okay, these were low production. I mean, Antiques Roadshow had a couple of some years back, but their information is all wrong. They thought these were high production. These were low production. So the total number of busts, I believe, and this is from TLA, who made the bust.
Okay.
14 total Babe Ruth.
14.
That's all were made.
Globally.
There are 12 Lou Gehrigs.
Wow.
9 Stan Musial. Only 6 Mickey Mantles, and one of those Mickey Mantles sold like 6 years ago for over $10,000. And there's only 7 Jackie Robinsons.
Wow. And we have a Jackie Robinson. We have a Mantle.
You have the whole set.
We have
the only, as far as I know, it's the only complete set that I'm aware of. Wow. Now the Jackie Robinson one, especially, my buddy Dick Sayers, who got me the Rudy stuff, worked for Michael Jordan. He built his basketball court in his home in the North Shore.
Wow.
So I said to Dick, I said, "Hey, one day when you're going in there, I'm going to make up I'm going to have one of these busts. I want you just to give it to Mike. And he brought it to work. It had to be scanned through Michael's security system. But to this very day, Michael Jordan has a Jackie Robinson bust from Palmer Murphy in his private personal collection.
So let me just reiterate this. So at your auction, people have the opportunity to own Hall of Fame busts that are literally in the Hall of Fame, and that actually Michael Jordan has one of them.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about the upper echelon of collecting.
The Babe Ruth
it's amazing.
bust, it was at Donald Trump's, the 21 Club in New York and Manhattan was the most exclusive club in New York.
Right.
And Trump had his own private booth there, but the one of those Palmer Murphy busts was right behind Trump's booth in the 21 Club, Club 21, for many years.
See, talk about a status statement. I mean, talk about that. This makes you an instant collector.
Yeah. And these are the final ones. I mean, on the back of each one, it's numbered. This is the final of with the amount that were made. They're all on a special marble base. And it was the end. It was the last ones. And over the years, they started to deteriorate a little bit. So there's some flaws and imperfections because the molds eventually start going after time.
Sure.
But they look beautiful,
They
and
do.
and they're one of the only sets I'm aware of that is left, that anyone has, the complete set of all 5.
Man.
They're truly beautiful.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was so excited when he pulled up, and I was like, "Oh, they're here. We got to put them on display."
Yeah. No, those are very unique, and to someone that really wants to have a really unique thing to their collection of baseball memorabilia, these things just stand out. They're life size. They weigh they weigh 50, 60 pounds a piece. They're big. They're highly detailed, and and again, they started out at the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's no better than that.
No. Talk about promenades. It's like you said, it doesn't get much better than that.
Now, one piece I want to backtrack to. We kind of started highlighting it. We kind of just said his name slightly, but I mean, we've taken this piece to a show, and it has had great response. It is unbelievable what people have seen, and the piece I'm talking about is your Rudy collection.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we took the placard to a local sports show, and I think we basically had a crowd the first 20 minutes of putting it down at the table, and everyone says, "This isn't real." Oh, no, this is original. This is it.
Yeah.
And we have game used stuff. It's not
the
just the
gloves.
placard from the movie. We have game used stuff.
So that number one, I'm a Notre Dame fan my whole life. My family goes all the way back to my Aunt Margaret Mary's dad was a tailback with George Gipp under Rockney back in the day. My grandfather went there. My cousins went there. Uncle Hunk Anderson coached there. So we were season ticket holders for a million years. So when my buddy Dick Sayers, who worked in Hollywood for years, he was a key grip. He's worked on all John Hughes movies. He went to high school with John Hughes. He worked in Hollywood. He dated Sharon Stone. He dated some of the most beautiful girls in Hollywood. So, but Dick was on the TriStar crew for Rudy. And he came to me one day and said, "Hey, I'm on this film. They're shooting at Notre Dame." And I go, "Oh, what's that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's about some guy that barely made the team or something." And he said Rudy Rudiger, and I go, "Oh God, I think that guy played." And it was the same year my buddy Pete Bilek, who was classmates with Rudy. Wow. And so they knew him, And actually, I just talked to Pete last week. They're having their what would it be, 50th college reunion, and Rudy was a classmate of his. So anyhow,
It's crazy.
so Dick told me he was going to work on this film with TriStar, and the director was David Asbaugh, who directed Hoosiers. So I've watched Hoosiers a million times because I'm a basketball player. But what he was known for is authenticity. If you watched Hoosiers, the uniforms, the basketballs, the courts, the clothes, everything has to be authentic to that era, that 1950s. Okay, so when what Dick was telling me when he's on this gig, he goes, he just wants to make so sure that the uniforms are authentic to 1973, 74 when Rudy was there, and he said that that they went so as far as to get with Wilson Sporting Goods and have them go back and try to find the original tooling from the collegiate football they used in the 1970s in that era, which they found, and they produced, I think, a dozen balls for this movie to be used in practice and game films and stuff like that. And so, anyhow, Dick was down before he went to do this movie. He said, "Hey, look, I remember you had that Notre Dame jacket that you got in '73. Do you still have that? Could I use that for the movie?" I go, "Yeah, sure." So I got it in my closet. Gave it to Dick, and it's the Rudy jacket. It's got the patch, but it's authentic. I mean, that jacket is from Notre Dame, 1973 or 74, the exact year that movie was made, or supposed to be from when Rudy was there. But so Dick took that. The jacket was used in the motion picture, in crowd scenes at Corby's Bar. Some players had it, in different scenes. He said most of the time, actually, the director and the crew were wearing it different days. So it kind of bounced around. Like a little hole in the back that I noticed when I got it back, but thanks, Dick. But so the jacket was used in the motion picture. In the scene where everybody's chanting Rudy, that was halftime of a actual game at Notre Dame Stadium against Boston College. And so when the team went to the locker room at halftime, the fake Georgia Tech team and Notre Dame players came out and they had a quick time to shoot all that. So when the fans started chanting Rudy, they held up a placard that said Rudy on it. So that all the Notre Dame cheerleaders around the whole stadium were holding it up to entice the crowd to cheer Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. Wow. So after that last game, that game scene, Dick had one of the placards, and he had Rudy Rudiger, who was he was the technical advisor to the motion picture. He signed it, to Dick, he'd keep us all motivated or something.
Yeah.
But then the final play of the motion picture is when Jamie O'Hara gets a quarterback call the audible, so they get the touchdown to get Rudy back in the game. Right. Well, the ball that you guys have, the ball that I have now, was used in those last game sequences where they audibled, they threw the touchdown pass, then the defense came back in the field, and Rudy got the sack. This ball was used in those final sequences because by then they only had like a handful of them left. They were used in practice and stuff. So Dick grabbed this ball at the end. It was mayhem, and he put it in a gear bag. And he's had it since the end. And, of course, he knew I was a Notre Dame fan. So when the motion picture was done, he brought me back my coat and the ball.
Oh, man.
And the placard that Rudy signed that was used in the movie. So all these items were used in the motion picture.
How cool. How cool.
So, and I saw Hunt, I think, had an auction some years ago with a couple, like
the face gear,
right.
I think,
a face mask or something that went for $240,000 for a couple small things. These are motion picture used items,
right?
Which, Dick, I'll give a letter of provenance from Dick Sayers himself, but these are all used in the motion pictures. These are very rare, unique items.
And I mean, who's going to have a story like that jacket?
Yeah.
Your personal jacket flew around from actor to cast to director to this. Everybody wore it. And then just to make it on top of it, put in the hole in the back.
Yeah,
it adds to the story. Still there. It adds to the story. It wasn't there before, but what could have happened? And then to that, you get the ball, you get the gloves, you get the placard. Wow.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing, the gloves.
The gloves, yeah.
So Derek Mays, the players are the film crew and the players, and Derek Mays, they all have all the gear. And Dick somehow wrangled a set of gloves. He said came from Derek Mays, and I think he scored 2 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah,
so
that's so cool.
So cool. But it was all, and he, he's been around motion pictures his whole life, but he never he saved some stuff. But he had the spider from Home Alone for years, but he had all the wood in my basement was from the movie Home Alone, and.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's a crazy guy. I mean, like in the end of Home Alone, when John Candy is the polka player, Twin Lakes, Wisconsin, Kenosha County. So John Hughes is like, all right, we got to give this guy a name and a song. And so Dick goes, why don't we call them the Kenosha Kickers? I'm from Kenosha County. He goes, yeah, I like that. Well, what should their hit song be? And he goes, the Twin Lakes polka. What else would it be? and John Hughes and John Candy all got that from Dick Sayers.
Oh man,
Wow.
that's awesome. How things just originate from just one little idea. Just let's Kenosha Cakers and
Yeah, that was all from my buddy Dick.
Well, I want to bounce back to baseball. I know we've been bouncing from sport to sport to sport, but that's just kind of how your collection is. It's a mix of everything, but it's all phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I pass by every day, I want to put it next to my office.
Yeah.
Ryan wants to put it in his office.
I want this
But,
one.
we got to keep it in the vault. Don't want anyone looking at it. Is that hyper-realistic Babe Ruth photo.
Oh, the monster
The
one.
massive,
Yeah, 5 foot
massive
tall or-
5 foot tall Babe Ruth
Beautiful.
photo.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that is, that's got to be shown in a way that you can understand how big that is. But so when I was with Baseball Americana, we had access to the original glass plate negatives that were used in the Smithsonian tour that broke every record at the Smithsonian
Right.
for the Conlon collection. And so so the Bellman, or the group that did that before Dave got it, was a guy from the Sporting News, Bob Hankins, and they worked with the Smithsonian and Kodak to get access to these glass plate negatives. And so they made contact sheets from them off the originals, which now I hear that they're so disintegrated that they're hardly even functional. But when Baseball Americana broke up, Ken Bellman gave Dave and I whatever we wanted to take, and I saw a Kodak box, and so I said, I'll take that, and he gave it to me. Well, it had all the original contact sheets from that collection were in this box. So that picture, I believe, from of Babe Ruth was a Conlon photo, I believe, from 1924 at Yankee Stadium. So we had it colorized by the world's top colorization artist, which back that's probably I'm not sure how many years old it is. It's on the date of it, but she did this incredible colorization, that piece.
Yeah.
Then I've got a framer in the North Shore. He does galleries. He does some of the most upscale homes in the North Shore. I said, look, I got a really rare, unique piece that I needs a certain kind of frame. And I went in there, and he said, I had a lady from Winnetka or Glencoe who had this extensive gallery of fine art, and she bought this expensive frame, Art Deco from like the 20s. And he goes, I got just enough of that left to probably frame that print. Man. So, the frame alone probably weighs 40 pounds.
We
moved it down to photography, and me and Ryan both, we've seen the piece. We'd rather carry it down just in case, we went, this is beautiful. I never mind looking at it a little bit more.
Awesome.
I never mind getting a little closer look at it. But, we walked through the building with it, and everyone's just like, wow, it feels like he's in the room.
Yeah.
That colorization was, even from back then, looks like it would be a 4K quality photo right now.
It is. And the thing about it the most, which gets you when you look at that picture, is the eyes.
100%.
The eyes
100%.
are pristine.
Yep.
And they're staring right at you.
Yep. And that was the comment we got when we brought it through. And Susan's already stood right next to it, as she's the kind of the model to see how big it is, because it's almost as tall as Susan.
Yeah, it's
But
massive.
she looked at it, she goes, I feel like he's staring down my soul. She
Yeah.
goes, I love it. She goes, I love it. It looks like he's in the room with you.
That picture looks like it could have been taken yesterday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of my favorite part of it. And he's been gone for a little while, but this is an unbelievable print. And you don't see him in color. Everyone gives it an idea of what it could be. This is, I feel, the closest to what is real.
No question. If you want to imagine what it was like to look in Babe Ruth's face, that's about as close as you'll ever get.
To me, it's absolutely mesmerizing. You stare at this for 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then you just want to keep staring at it, and you keep seeing more and more and more. Truly, I've never seen anything like that. And coupled with it being perfectly accented at that beautiful frame, its stature. Again, a true collector. This needs to be a true collector.
But unless you got to be able to somehow show how big it is.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Because if you just show the frame, you could think it's an 8x10.
Exactly.
You'd never know how massive it is. But for some really hardcore collector that wants just that conversation piece, that one showstopper in his gallery or his was man cave or his gallery or whatever. This is a piece, you put a spotlight on that piece in your collection, and anyone that walks in the room is going to go, holy cow, that is amazing.
Exactly.
Now, one other frame piece that I think brings the exact same reaction, and this is when we went to the Sports Spectacular back in December, and we came the first day. We weren't really going to bring memorabilia, and I called Ryan as I'm sitting at the show, and I say, you need to bring this O'Neal print. This is what's going to draw the eyes to everybody. I walked around, I saw the prints, and I saw nothing like it. Now, when this one first came in the door, I was so excited because another one, just like the Babe Ruth, I've never seen a photo like this.
Yep.
The Jackie Robinson World's, whatever game it was, I can't remember for sure, but just surrounded by all the children. I mean, African-American, white, everything. The diversity in that photo alone surrounding Jackie Robinson, I think that's a showstopper as well.
That picture is as close to a Norman Rockwell portrait as you will ever see in photography.
Yep.
And that is part of the Sarno collection, Philip Sarno. Dave Bellman stumbled across this guy during the Baseball Americana days, and he had 1,200 never seen before, never published, never printed images of the greatest players from the Golden Age. Mantle, Maris, Jackie Robinson, Ted Williams, Stan Musial, all these, some of the biggest legends of the game. So we curated a bunch of these. I mean, they're literally hundreds of pristine images that maybe someday we can deal with fanatics on them, but that particular one is there's two actually. You've got one there, but there's another one that is from another angle that are just amazing.
Man.
But Philip Sarno was a press photographer in Pennsylvania for the Standard Speaker newspaper back in the 50s and 60s. He was a war correspondent reporter under General MacArthur in World War II. So, but he was he had a tremendous eye, and I'm a photographer. So, but I look at some of his images, and I just am blown away by how well he captured some of these players. I mean, you have a few that are prints of the one of Jackie Robinson. You've got a Stan Musial that Stan signed, and actually
autographed.
I brought that picture to Stan with his agent, Dick Zitzman, in St. Louis, and Stan signed it right in front of me. And Stan said, this picture with me in the dugout with the bats and stuff, this is probably the most favorite image of me that I ever can recall seeing in my whole career. It's this image right here. Wow. I think it was a Sportsman's Park back then. But he looked at that picture and he goes, this is probably, again, one of the best pictures of myself I've ever seen.
It's a showstopper. I mean, that's another one that I love all of them. I mean, I hate to say I like one more than the other because each one of them is stunning in its own respect. Another one that everyone has their own little favorites, and I'll tell you, someone that I just always liked is Mickey Mantle, and you have such an impressive collage print.
That was an
beautiful.
So when we were at Baseball Americana, we were in New York, and we met this guy, Thomas Solomon, and he was a diehard sports fan, Yankees fan, and he did these what were called the collages of the greats that he did as a love of his life project, and so in his initial days, we got for him, because we were going to display some of our stuff, he gave us this particular one of Mickey Mantle, which was one of his first ones he ever did, and it was his baby. But his collections were on display at the Babe Ruth Museum. The National Baseball Hall of Fame displayed his stuff.
Wow.
The Yogi Berra Museum in Brunswick, New Jersey, the Al Lopez Museum. But this collages were works from his heart.
It's stunning. I mean, I love it.
But most people don't know about this guy, and I said, because I asked him, I said, why aren't these sold in the marketplace? And he goes, because I'm not licensed by Major League Baseball, so I don't sell them to anybody. Wow. we pretty much got ours, and then actually later he wanted it back, and I never sent it back.
I was just gonna say, I remember when you came in first, when you brought that piece, and you told me that story, and I'm like, God, I wouldn't want to give it back either. This is beautiful.
No, and so, and then he passed away.
Oh.
So I would like to say I was going to get it back to him before he passed away, but I'd not be telling the truth. but that's a piece. Unless you know the backstory, if you go to whatever website he used to have, you can Google it and see the incredible collages that this guy did are just stunning, and they're highly sought after. But I think they're all in a private collection now, except the one that we have in our auction.
I believe you're 100% right.
I mean,
yeah.
I fell in love with it since the first day I laid eyes on it. That, and I mean, again, they're all stunning. But the Babe Ruth one, and then I'd love to have them all. I mean,
it's truly one unbelievable collection, because I mean the stories that you bring with it, how you got them, autographed, left in a car. I mean, you have the provenance for every piece, and it is unbelievable. I mean, the busts, another one. You worked with them, all this. The rings, I mean, no matter what piece in your collection, you had a hand
I have personal attachment to every single
And I think that brings this collection to a whole new level, because not every collector can say, I had a hand in collecting this. I had a hand in making this. I had a hand in getting this. I knew the guy. I was in the car with the guy. I did a car convo and drove around with him.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, not many collectors can say that.
No.
And what I think is unique about this too is that there's items that could go for six figures, okay, but there's also items that could go for a couple $100, right, you know. So we don't want to chase away anybody. You know, some of the top auctions today, you know, Heritage, some of these bigger auction houses, you know, unless they can get a minimum of $5 to $10 grand for an item, they don't even talk to you.
Right. Exactly.
You know, so that was compelled me when I met you and Donley, is that, you know, I think together we have a whole spectrum of some really ultra high end stuff, some middle, but there's something in this auction fit every person, every budget, that they could get a piece to, you know, put in their their man cave or their office or their boardroom or whatever. But it's you know, it's all got a great story behind it, all got lockdown provenance. You know,
and it's super cool. I mean, everything is just, it's of that caliber that there's no, you know, middle of the road. I mean, there's middle of the road stuff, but then you got stuff that's just, what am I looking at? Oh my God, this is actually in the Rudy movie. I mean, it's,
and I still have a red Michael Jordan jersey coming signed as well that I haven't got to yet. But that's those are the red are the most collectible ones, you know, that right. That we got from Field of Dreams from one of their managers years ago. It's spectacular, and so, but that will be part of it at some point. You know, I got to get it.
And then the Larry Bird one we have. I'm waiting for it to come back from authentication, and we got to get framed up. And
that my little brother got that directly from Bird. He worked for Miller. He was in Indiana, and you know he got it directly from Larry. Larry signed it right in front of him.
Wow, that's awesome.
So now I have to ask. Now we've gone over everything that you're sending off to auction, all that. But is there one piece that you cannot let go, one you're keeping for your personal collection that's never going out the door?
I never asked you that. That's a good question.
Well, there's a couple things. I've got a Chicago Bears collage that was signed by a bunch of the Ditka. It's one I can't get rid of. It's signed by everybody, and I've got autographs for the guys that are missing. I've got the ones of Muggsy Hallis, Joe Stutterher, Brian Piccolo, that I will eventually frame that, and that will stay in my personal collection because my relationship with the Bears.
Exactly. I mean, from like we
guys.
said, childhood to adulthood, you've gone to the Bears, everything. How could you get rid of that?
Yeah, no, that will stay with. And then I also have, when I had access to I told you about the glass plate negatives, there were 66 curated negatives from the Sporting News vault that were part of the Smithsonian tour, which broke every record at the National Photo Gallery at the Smithsonian Institution. So of course, the context sheet I told you we made the color Ruth off of, but I had one of the top digital photo experts in the Midwest, Jim Youngbauer. I had all these images. I went through all 66 of these original contact sheets, and I said, Jim, I want you to take your time. I bought him the most expensive high-res scanner on the planet, and I said, I want to make one set of masters of these images.
Damn.
So I gave them all to Jim, and I never asked about it again. And a year and a half later, he said,
You're ready.
They're ready. So I met with him, and we pulled them out one by one. And they're 11 by 14 on Hemimule German paper, the best possible.
Mm-hmm.
And through his processes of going over each image, burning, dodging, using photo techniques of today, he brought out more detail that were in those glass plate images that the Smithsonian versions did not even have.
Wow.
So I'm looking at these pictures, having seen the masters that were displayed at the Smithsonian. I saw them with my own two eyes, which were 8 by 10s. These are 11 by 14s. And I'm looking at these, and my jaw dropped. I mean, and it takes a lot to get me there.
Right.
But so I have a complete set of the Smithsonian prints, all 66. I still have in my collection.
Yeah, that'd be hard to get rid of.
So
I'd
for the
sit
time
on
being
that.
now, that's
Right. That's
know.
part of his O'Neill personal collection, not going for auction.
yeah.
That's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
I'd
But the originals sold for 6 figures many years back, the 8 by 10s. But these are blow those out of the water, and they came right from the original contact sheets that were used for the Smithsonian exhibit in '84.
Again, another
man.
The provenance, the story, everything. This man has it all. It is an unbelievable collection, and I mean, again, the stories behind it. It just sell the item.
I think that's the coolest part. Like what we said earlier, it's your collection is everything is so eye-catching, and everything has such a cool story behind it that anyone would love to have it. I mean, I'll tell you what, I have a great job, but the worst part about my job is that I cannot buy at my auction house because obviously I can have a conflict of interest, but I'll tell you, I see that Babe Ruth. Oh my God, I wish I could buy this. I wish I could. And I'll tell you, the Bobby O'Neill collection, literally everything that we're offering, I would love to showcase. And that's normally a really good litmus test because if I like it, you're going to like it. And if Bobby liked it, you're liked it. So it's all great stuff.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a lifelong passion.
That's and it shows. It shows.
Yeah.
It shows that it's not.
And a lot of luck too. There's a lot of luck in obtaining a lot of stuff. It's hard to believe, but
That's what I was going to ask. Was there anything that kind of countering off your question? Was there anything that you kind of went after that you didn't get that you saw and it just went another way, or were you pretty lucky?
No, I mean, I've been pretty fortunate to get most of the stuff I wanted. I mean, I always thought it would be cool to have a signed Babe Ruth baseball.
Yeah.
But maybe that's still yet to come.
Yeah. They're still around, and that's. I actually had a call from a gentleman, and we're just talking, but he has a Babe Ruth double signed baseball, which is very uncommon. It's very uncommon to have anything that's double signed by him, but stuff is being unearthed. So I mean,
yeah. Well, in the Baseball Americana collection, Ken Bellman had a Ruth Gehrig signed baseball.
Oh,
so
man,
that later was all sold for probably millions of dollars. But
I'm sure.
I've just the old guys are the ones that for some reason I love Babe Ruth. I love Lou Gehrig, Mantle. The old Bears players. I mean, when I got my contract with the Bears in '86, Mike McCaskey gave me a list of all the living players, and surprisingly, Red Grange, the Galloping Ghost, was still alive.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
And so I called him on the telephone one day.
Really?
Out of the clear blue. It's like calling Babe Ruth. And he answers, "Hello." I go, "Red?
Mr. Chris."
Yes. I go, "You don't know me, but I do alumni work for the Bears, and I just saw your name here, and I had to call and say hello." Oh, thank you. He's telling me he's at a retirement home down in Florida, and he's got a sore back and his knee's out. And but I had a 15-minute chat with Red Grange.
It's insane.
I think he died a year later.
It's he had a long life. I remember that. It was recently in the last 5 or 10 years. I'm guessing he passed.
That would have been 87 in the early, it would be like 80,
that
87, 88, something like that.
But how he was he was up there, right?
Oh, he was up there. Yeah, he was in his, I think, late 80s, but his body was falling apart after all those years. But he was.
That's the thing. Those guys, those guys give a lot. I mean, people don't realize that. You see some of these guys in their 40s and their 50s, and you could see the walk, the aches, the pains.
The Chicago Bear alumni dinners I go to were just a gift from God to be able to go as a sports fan to go there. But you see these guys with walkers and wheelchairs, like Reeves Sori nowadays. He played with Ted, and they were both played the same position. Reeves, is in a wheelchair. He's got a bunch of issues. But a lot of these guys are just so.
It's heartbreaking.
They're on crutches. They all limp. Some are confused, and it's it's just so sad.
Me and Ryan were just talking about that at that big sports spectacular. And we'll be at the next one. But the main point is where our booth was. We faced all the autographs, the signings, all that stuff. And when you saw all these big athletes coming out, you're like, wow. They have massively changed in look, how they walk, how they act, just in that time from being big-time athlete to now having the reparations of everything that they did as they were the athlete.
Yeah.
It's definitely, that's a cool thing, though, because then you still get to see the guys and you still get to kind of see how things are. But
one of the guys who I really had a great time one night drinking and smoking a cigar together was Steve McMichael.
Wow.
And just a character. The guy was just everything you imagine: big, bold, and gregarious and crazy. And and actually, you asked about some of the last things I have. We stopped this relationship just because the Chicago Bears now, there's so much licensing and legalities and all this stuff, and everything back all those years with McCaskey, with Mike, was all pretty much a handshake, and I was as loyal as Lassie to them 100%. But the three pieces that I have, of course, the Butkus ring, and my last sample I ever made is a ring of Steve McMichael.
Really?
And that's something I'll probably keep. And a lady's pendant.
Wow.
That is amazing.
I was just watching the Bears special on ESPN, and I've seen it before, but it's kind of interesting because then you pick up things the more and more you see it, and they're interviewing him, and he's talking about how he was a bouncer back and he used to have a baseball bat in Texas, and he used to be a wild man. And
it's just a character. I remember when he did. He'd be on the show with Johnny Morris, and Johnny could never control him. And he had his dog Peppy, and and I think Johnny Morris was terrified of him, actually. Or was it was Luke Canellis, maybe one of those guys did a show with him, and he was just such a larger than life persona.
Yeah. It's it's funny because it's like you see this guy, and you're kind of scared of him, but you want to keep watching him because he's very interesting and you want to see what's going on. So it's one of those things that all those 85 Bears were very
colorful.
Yeah.
What a collection.
Entertaining and super cool.
Is there anything you want the collectors out there to know about you before your collection goes up for sale?
It's just I'm a sports guy, and have been my whole life. I've been blessed to meet across a whole spectrum of players in my life. I don't know why that happened, but it's awesome. I feel completely blessed to have had the access to so many sports celebrities and stars and stuff that I've had in my whole lifetime. And and I've got two daughters. Okay, so I had a basement full of all this stuff, and I got no one really to pass it on to. I'm getting to be an older guy. So it's time to let someone else share this stuff now, and Donley will be, I'm sure, do a great job of helping to get my stuff to the next person, and we'll enjoy it for the next 50 years.
That's certainly my goal, is to I obviously have a duty to my consigners to make sure everything is done properly, but Two, I truly try to get everything to where it should be. I don't, certain things should be in certain people's hands, and that's where Ryan comes into play to make sure that they know about it. But no, you have a fantastic collection. I thank you for the opportunity to sell it.
100%.
I thank you for the hospitality today.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing us out. I think you're spoiling us a little bit.
Yeah,
with the
I don't
setup.
wanna
Now
go
I know
back
when I go back to the office today, I know what I'm going to have to be pitching for. So
Yeah, we are, by the way, at the Cunis Auto Group's Delavan Holdings. It's our corporate office in Delavan, Wisconsin, which were kind enough to let us use their podcast room today, to do all this, which I'm grateful to them.
They've been very accommodating to me and very nice, pleasant. I thank you guys for that, and I also want to thank the Bro Show for having me at the card shows, and
They're getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I know.
They just became a Fanatics distributor.
yeah, I've been seeing them all over
too.
social media now.
Yeah,
Good
so
for them.
They're getting bigger and bigger.
I love this
Keep an eye on
store.
Keep an eye on them.
I
Will
might
do.
have to stop there on my way out, but.
Otherwise, thank you very much. Thank you for having us out. Thank you for this. And we just can't wait for your collection to come up. Stay tuned. It will be up this summer 2026, the Bobby O'Neill collection.
All right, guys. All the best. Thanks so much.